Could this be the last week Sean Combs remains behind bars? After quite the bail hearing last week, we're going to break down what happened and what could be next for the embattled rapper who's currently sitting in detention as he waits trial on federal crimes charges.
From allegations of violent freak-offs to secret phone calls behind bars, the drama unfolding around one of hip-hop's biggest icons feels straight out of a crime thriller. Here are updates from Diddy's explosive bail hearing. But before we get into the video, for more updates on Diddy, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This way you'll be in the loop with all the Diddy drama. A Thanksgiving miracle? The possibility of P. Diddy's bail release timing can be everything. And for Sean P. Diddy Combs, the prospect of walking free just as the country prepares to carve Thanksgiving turkeys adds a surreal twist to his ongoing legal saga. His bail hearing last week took place under the watchful eye of Judge Aaron Subramanian, a new player in this case. Unlike the two judges before him, Subramanian hasn't outright shut the door on the idea of Diddy's release. Instead, he seems to be weighing the possibilities with fresh eyes, creating a flicker of hope for the embattled music mogul. The allegations that landed him in jail. The charges against P. Diddy read like a script from a gritty crime drama, but the reality is far darker. Federal prosecutors have accused him of racketeering, sex trafficking, and coercion, painting a picture of a man who allegedly ran a criminal enterprise from 2008 to 2024. According to court documents, this enterprise didn't just exploit women, it allegedly used threats, force, and coercion to make them engage in sexual acts, sometimes involving male sex workers, at events prosecutors chillingly referred to as freak-offs. The accusations don't stop at exploitation. The government alleges that Diddy's operation included acts of violence, such as arson and kidnapping, tactics seemingly designed to keep his victims and associates in line. These allegations are bolstered by testimony and evidence spanning over a decade and a half, making the case against him sprawling and deeply complex. The societal implications are profound. This isn't just about one man's alleged misconduct. It's a stark reflection of power dynamics and abuse within the entertainment industry. For years, Diddy was a symbol of success, a mogul who built an empire on charisma and savvy. The allegations, if proven true, could dismantle not just his legacy, but also shake the industry to its core. The case has become a litmus test for how the legal system handles accusations against high-profile individuals with vast resources and influence. Previous bail denials and why this time could be different. Diddy's defense team has had an uphill battle when it comes to securing his release. Two judges have already denied bail, citing him as a flight risk and a danger to the public. Their reasoning is straightforward. Diddy's immense wealth and global connections could allow him to disappear, and the severity of the charges suggests he poses a threat to society. But this time, with Judge Aaron Subramanian presiding, the tone feels slightly different. The defense's proposed bail package is nothing short of extraordinary. They've promised a $50 million bond, home confinement under round-the-clock private security, and no access to phones or the internet. They've even gone as far as to suggest independent security guards to monitor him, ensuring he has no contact with witnesses or anyone connected to the case. In other words, they've crafted a scenario where Diddy would live in near total isolation, even within his own home. What makes Subramanian's approach noteworthy is his willingness to engage with these proposals rather than dismiss them outright. His questions during the hearing indicated he might be open to exploring whether such strict conditions could mitigate the risks the prosecution has laid out. It's a delicate balance. Releasing Diddy under these circumstances would be unprecedented, but it could also serve as a compromise in a case that has already captured nationwide attention. Alleged jail misconduct by Diddy. Even behind bars, Diddy's actions have drawn scrutiny. Prosecutors claim he's been violating jail rules, engaging in unauthorized communications, and attempting to influence witnesses. These accusations have become a central argument for why he should remain in detention, with the government painting a picture of a man who refuses to follow the rules even in a controlled environment. Among the allegations are claims that Diddy used other inmates' phone codes to make unauthorized calls and enlisted a third-party texting service to communicate with individuals outside the jail. More troubling, according to prosecutors, is the suggestion that these communications were aimed at obstructing justice, including attempts to influence witnesses and even potential jurors. The infamous birthday video campaign, where his family posted a video call with him from behind bars, has been cited as an example of this alleged misconduct. These actions, the prosecution argues, reflect a pattern of behavior that makes Diddy untrustworthy. If he can't follow the rules in jail, they ask, how can he be trusted to comply with strict bail conditions? For the defense, these accusations are a mix of overreach and misunderstanding. They argue that the prosecution is inflating minor infractions into a narrative of obstruction, all to keep Diddy detained. Obstruction allegations. From witness tampering to PR stunts, the obstruction allegations against Diddy are as much about perception as they are about concrete actions. Prosecutors claim he has gone to great lengths to manipulate the legal process, from attempting to influence witnesses to orchestrate public relations campaigns designed to sway potential jurors. The birthday video campaign is perhaps the most infamous example. In the video, Diddy's family appears cheerful, wishing him well as he speaks to them from jail. Prosecutors argue this was a calculated move to garner sympathy and influence public opinion, particularly among potential jurors who might see the video. They even allege Diddy himself acknowledged on a recorded call that he only needed one juror to swing the case in his favor. Diddy's defense team, however, sees it differently. They argue that he has a constitutional right to speak out, especially when facing intense media scrutiny. Drawing parallels to high-profile cases like Donald Trump's, they claim Diddy's actions fall within the bounds of free speech. For them, the birthday video and other communications are not obstruction, but a response to the relentless public narrative against him. Defense strategy. Is P. Diddy being unfairly targeted? P. Diddy's defense team is leaning hard into the argument that their client is being singled out unfairly by prosecutors. One of their key claims centers on an alleged misconduct incident during a jail sweep at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC. According to the defense, this operation wasn't just a routine check for contraband. They believe it was a targeted attempt to undermine Diddy's case. What makes it even more controversial is the claim that investigators photographed his private notes, including material protected by attorney-client privilege. At the heart of this dispute are Diddy's legal notepads, which were supposedly labeled to signal that they contain privileged information. The problem? The prosecution says the notepads confiscated during the sweep didn't have any markings on them. Judge Aaron Subramanian addressed this during the hearing, pointing out inconsistencies between the defense's claims and what was observed during the search. The judge even questioned whether the defense added the legal label after the fact, casting doubt on their credibility. The defense is using this controversy to argue that the charges against Diddy should be dismissed altogether. They claim that the mishandling of privileged materials taints the integrity of the prosecution's case. Additionally, they've demanded that evidence related to these notes be destroyed and are even pushing for the Southern District of New York prosecutors to be recused. It's a bold strategy, but one that hinges on proving that Diddy is being unfairly targeted, not just by the legal system, but by a broader effort to bring him down. Whether this argument holds water remains to be seen, but it's clear the defense is prepared to fight back with everything they've got. Comparing Diddy's case to others, Mike Jeff's release. During the recent bail hearing, Judge Aaron Subramanian raised an intriguing comparison. Why should P. Diddy remained in detention when another high-profile defendant, former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries, was granted bail? Both cases involve serious allegations of sex trafficking, Yet Jeffries walked free on a $10 million bond. This question forced both sides to dig into the nuances of their arguments. Prosecutors argue that Diddy's case is fundamentally different and more severe. They point to allegations of violent acts, such as arson and kidnapping, that go beyond the sex trafficking charges. They also highlight Diddy's alleged use of firearms and his ongoing attempts to obstruct justice, suggesting that his conduct poses a more immediate threat to public safety. In contrast, they note that Jeffries, while accused of running an international sex trafficking ring, is 80 years old and hasn't been accused of any violent acts in recent years. Diddy's defense team sees things differently. They argue that Jeffries' case is more egregious, involving allegations of rape and international trafficking. Moreover, they point out that Diddy is 55, not exactly young, and suggest that the prosecution is overplaying his supposed dangerousness. The defense also claims that the conditions they've proposed for Diddy's bail are far stricter than those imposed on Jeffries, making the comparison even more lopsided. This back and forth underscores the subjective nature of bail decisions, particularly in high-profile cases. While the judge hasn't made a final ruling yet, the Jeffries comparison adds a layer of complexity to an already contentious debate. The controversial 2016 video evidence of danger. The 2016 video showing P. Diddy allegedly assaulting his ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura has become a flashpoint in his legal battle. Released earlier this year by CNN, the footage appears to show Diddy shoving, kicking, and dragging Ventura in a hotel hallway while wearing nothing but a towel. For prosecutors, this video is a smoking gun, a clear example of the violent behavior that makes him a danger to society. Diddy's defense team, however, has questioned the video's authenticity. They claim that CNN may have edited or spliced the footage to make the incident look worse than it was. While Diddy publicly apologized for the incident shortly after the video's release, his lawyers argue that the footage doesn't tell the whole story. They describe his relationship with Ventura as fraught but consensual, suggesting that any physical altercations were mutual rather than one-sided. The question of security. Who's watching Diddy? One of the most contentious aspects of P. Diddy's proposed bail conditions is the question of security. His defense team has promised 24/7 monitoring by private security guards, but prosecutors aren't convinced. They argue that some of the individuals proposed for this role have conflicts of interest, including one who is allegedly a co-conspirator in the case. The prosecution's skepticism extends beyond individual guards. They contend that Diddy's immense wealth and influence could make it easy for him to manipulate his security team, regardless of their independence. This, they say, renders the proposed arrangement inadequate for ensuring compliance with bail conditions. In response, Diddy's lawyers have offered to employ an independent security team with no ties to the case. They argue that this arrangement, combined with strict limitations on Diddy's movements and communications, would effectively neutralize any risk he might pose. For the defense, this is a critical point. Without a viable security plan, their entire bail proposal could collapse. Proposed bail conditions. Life in confinement. If granted bail, P. Diddy's life would be anything but normal. His defense team has outlined a strict set of conditions designed to minimize any risk to public safety. He would be confined to his home, with no access to the internet or a phone except for communicating with his lawyers. Visitors would be heavily restricted, and he would be under constant surveillance by private security guards. Initially, the defense proposed that Diddy stay in his Miami home, but the judge pushed back on this idea, citing concerns about his proximity to a dock and potential escape routes. Instead, the defense suggested an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, where they say Diddy would have even fewer opportunities to breach the conditions of his release. First Amendment or obstruction? The legal debate. The fight over whether P. Diddy's public statements amount to free speech or obstruction is at the heart of his legal drama. His lawyers have drawn a parallel to another high-profile figure, Donald Trump. They argue that, like Trump, Diddy has a constitutional right to publicly defend himself, especially when he's the subject of intense media scrutiny. The defense insists that his public remarks, including a birthday video campaign orchestrated by his family, fall under his First Amendment rights. They even highlighted cases where courts protected public figures' ability to speak about their cases. The prosecution, however, sees things very differently. They argue that these statements and campaigns go beyond personal defense. They're a calculated effort to manipulate the legal process. Prosecutors have pointed to specific incidents, such as Diddy allegedly saying on a recorded call that he only needs one juror, as evidence that his public comments are aimed at swaying the jury pool. For them, his birthday campaign wasn't a harmless celebration, but an indirect attempt at jury tampering. Impact on the case. Bail and beyond. The decision to grant or deny bail to P. Diddy could change the entire trajectory of his legal battle. If he's allowed to leave jail under strict home confinement, his defense team gains a huge advantage. They'll have better access to him, making it easier to prepare for trial and respond to the mountain of evidence the prosecution has compiled. A win on bail could also shift public perception, signaling that the court doesn't see him as the overwhelming danger the prosecution claims. But the prosecution has made it clear they're worried about what happens if Diddy is released. They've already accused him of trying to influence witnesses and obstruct justice while in jail. Letting him out, they argue, could lead to more of the same, only with fewer restrictions. If Diddy does violate any of his bail conditions, he'll almost certainly be sent back to jail, and the prosecution might add obstruction charges to the list of crimes he's already facing. Public perception, media frenzy, and social reactions. P. Diddy's case is playing out as much in the court of public opinion as it is in the courtroom. The media has been relentless, dissecting every detail of his charges and legal maneuvers. For some, he's a fallen icon whose alleged crimes tarnish his legacy. For others, he's a victim of an overzealous justice system targeting another black celebrity. Fans have been equally divided. Some remain fiercely loyal, flooding social media with messages of support and calls for his release. Others have turned away, disgusted by the allegations and unwilling to separate the man from his music. The birthday video campaign highlighted this divide. To supporters, it was a touching moment of solidarity between Diddy and his family. To critics, it was a PR stunt designed to manipulate potential jurors. The stakes for Diddy's legal team. Diddy's lawyers are walking a tightrope, balancing public narrative with courtroom strategy. This isn't just another case for them. It's one of the most high-profile legal battles in recent memory. Every decision they make is scrutinized, not just by the judge and jury, but by millions of people watching from the sidelines. One of their biggest challenges has been managing controversies like the jail sweep and the notepad incident. Prosecutors have cast doubt on the defense's claims about mishandling privileged materials, suggesting the notepads weren't labeled legal until after the fact. If the defense is caught in even a small misrepresentation, it could undermine their credibility and hurt Diddy's case. At the same time, they're fighting to control the public narrative. They've compared Diddy's situation to Donald Trump's, arguing that he's being unfairly targeted and has the right to defend himself publicly. But this strategy carries risks. If the court sees it as grandstanding or an attempt to influence the jury pool, it could backfire. What's next? Awaiting Judge Subramanian's decision. Judge Arun Subramanian's decision on bail is expected any day, and it could determine the next chapter in P. Diddy's legal saga. If he's released under strict conditions, it will significantly shift the case, giving Diddy and his defense team more room to strategize. However, if the judge denies bail, it reinforces the prosecution's argument that Diddy is too dangerous to be trusted outside jail. The possible outcomes are stark. Release could mean home confinement in New York City with no phone, no internet, and 24/7 monitoring. But staying in jail means continued restrictions, limited access to his legal team, and the possibility of new charges if the prosecution uncovers more evidence of misconduct. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, if you want more Diddy updates, subscribe to our channel.